Tonight, our story is called The Ledger Room at Midnight. After the town has gone quiet, one room in the old town hall stays lit, not for people, but for records that must be kept by hand into the New Year's ledger. The town hall is locked to the public. The corridors are dark. Only the small ledger room at the back is warm, and only because the night scribe has come to copy the year's last entries by lamplight. The work is the same as it has always been. The scribe has done it many years. The order of things has not changed in a long time. The town hall is quiet at this hour, the way old buildings are quiet when their working day has long since ended. The clerks have gone home. The wide front doors are locked, their iron handles cool to the touch, and the lamps in the public hall have been turned down to the smallest amber bead. Somewhere far above, in a slate roof patient with the cold, snow has begun to settle without a sound. The town hall itself was built a long time ago, in stone the color of cream and honey, with thick walls that hold the day's last warmth gently into the night. The floors are flagstone in the public rooms and old oak boards in the offices. The doors are heavy and slow to open, and they all carry the small soft creaks that doors carry when they have been opened and closed many thousands of times by careful hands. At this hour, the building seems to be doing what old buildings do best, which is to wait quietly while the town outside it sleeps. At the far end of the building, behind the main archives, a narrow door stands ajar. Beyond it lies a small room that the daytime business of the hall does not often visit. It is the ledger room. It is here that the long records of the town are kept in their cloth bindings, year by year, decade by decade. And it is here that the night scribe comes after closing to do their patient work. The corridor that leads to the ledger room is itself long and narrow, and lined on one side with framed plans of the town from various years. Each plan shows the same small grid of streets, drawn at slightly different times by different hands. The corridor's floorboards have been worn into the slightest dip down the middle, where so many feet have walked. A small lamp at the corridor's far end gives a faint warm light to the floor, and along the walls, the framed plans gather their own quiet shadows. The scribe arrives along the back corridor in soft-soled shoes, carrying nothing but a small key on a brass ring and a folded woolen scarf draped over one arm. They pause at the door, as they always pause, and rest a hand briefly against the frame. The wood is cool. The brass key is cool. The scarf, kept in a drawer near the side entrance all day, holds only the faint trace of cedar from the drawer where it has waited. It is not a long pause. It is the small, natural pause that comes when one is about to enter a room where one has worked for years, and where the work is patient and good. The hand on the door frame is steady. The breath is easy. The scarf rests across the arm without weight. Somewhere far down the corridor, a single board, somewhere out of sight, gives a small, soft creak as a building does when its breath shifts. Then it is quiet again. They turn the key in the small brass lock. The bolt slides back with a soft click, the kind of sound that belongs to a building rather than to anyone in particular. They step inside. They close the door behind them gently, so that the latch settles rather than clicks. The room is small and welcoming in its smallness. 3 of its walls are lined floor to ceiling with tall wooden shelves, and each shelf holds the cloth-bound accounting ledgers of the past century, ordered by year, the spines deep green and dark blue, and the color of strong tea. The lettering on the spines has been hand-pressed in gold, faded now to a soft warmth. Some of the older volumes lean a little against their neighbors, the way old books do when they have stood together for many years. Above each shelf, a small brass plate has been set into the wood, and on each plate, the years held by that shelf have been engraved in plain, neat lettering. The plates have grown a soft patina across the seasons. Their edges are dulled. Their letters are still perfectly clear. The shelves themselves are made of a dark, close-grained wood that has been waxed quietly over many decades, and the wax holds a faint, clean, sweet scent that mingles with the smell of paper and cloth and old gold. The shelves on the south wall hold the oldest volumes, the ones from a century ago, their cloth gone soft, and and their spines a little tired. The shelves on the west wall hold the middle decades. The shelves on the north wall, beside the door, hold the ledgers of the most recent 40 years, including, at the very end, an empty space where the new ledger will go when its work is done. Between the shelves and the floor, at the very bottom of each tall stack, runs a narrow wooden rail that lifts the lowest volumes a finger's width above the boards, so that no draft can ever dampen their bindings. The fourth wall, the one facing into the courtyard, holds a narrow, tall window. The window is set deep into the stone, with a wide inner sill, and outside it the courtyard lies under a slow, steady snowfall. The snow falls without hurry. It catches in the empty branches of a single tree at the courtyard's center. It dusts the cobblestones. It turns the world beyond the glass into a hushed, pale, patient thing. The window itself is divided by slender wooden mullions into 6 tall panes, 3 above and 3 below. The glass is the older kind, slightly uneven, gathering the light into faint waves where it is thickest at the bottom of each pane. A pale frost has begun to form at the very corners where the cold of the stone outside meets the warmer air within, and the frost makes small, soft fern shapes that the scribe has come to know across so many winters. The sill, wide enough to set a book upon, is bare tonight save for a small round dish of dried lavender that has stood there for as long as anyone can remember, giving up its faintest dry sweetness when the room warms. In the corner nearest the door, a small wood stove has been laid for the night by someone who comes earlier in the evening to set the building up. The fire inside it is low and steady. A faint warmth reaches into the room from where it sits, and the air around it carries the gentle smell of wood smoke and the slow, dry scent of stove iron giving back its heat. The stove is a black iron thing, small and round-bellied, with a short flue that rises into a brick chimney set neatly into the corner. A small iron door at its front, hinged on the right, holds the fire safely within. Beside the stove, on the floorboards, a small, low wooden box holds split pieces of birch and pine, ready for whoever needs them through the night. Above the stove, a length of plain iron rod has been fixed to the wall as a place to drape a damp cloak. Although tonight the rod is bare, the stove gives off a low, gentle ticking as the iron settles further into its warmth. The scribe walks to the stove and stands beside it for a moment. They warm their hands without rubbing them. They simply hold them in the warmth and let the cold of the corridor leave their fingers. The stove pops once, a small sound, and then is quiet again. Then they cross the room to the desk. The desk stands beneath the narrow window. Its surface, a worn dark oak that has been polished by countless hands and elbows over the years. On it sit only the things the scribe needs. There is the brass oil lamp at the back left corner. There is the small inkwell with its hinged lid in the back right. There is the pen resting in its small porcelain rest, its steel nib worn smooth from use. There is a folded square of soft blotting paper. There is, at the center, the new ledger, open to a fresh page, waiting. The oak of the desk is the color of a deep autumn leaf, and along its long forward edge, the wood has been worn the most, where the wrists of generations of clerks have pressed gently while they wrote. The grain runs in long, slow lines across the surface, and where the grain rises into the smallest ridges, the polish has caught a touch deeper, giving the whole desk a quiet, inward warmth. A small drawer hangs beneath the center, its brass pull dulled. Two narrow drawers run along the right side, also with brass pulls. Their wood the same dark oak as the rest. Underneath, 4 sturdy oak legs hold the desk steady against the stone floor, their feet softened by small felt pads that someone long ago took the trouble to fit. The brass of the lamp is a deep, mellow gold, polished only enough to keep it clean. The base is a round disc, the size of a teacup saucer. From the base rises a slim brass column, and atop the column sits the small reservoir that holds the lamp oil. The wick is white cotton, freshly trimmed by whoever last set the lamp up. The glass chimney is clear and clean, its lower edge fitted snugly into a small brass collar. Beside the lamp on the desk lies a slim brass key shaped like a small wing. by which the wick may be raised or lowered. The inkwell is a small, heavy thing of dark glass set into a square brass holder. The lid is hinged at the back. When closed, the lid sits flush. When open, it folds back and rests against a small brass stop. The well itself, sunk into the center of the holder, is no wider than a small fruit, and yet it holds, when full, enough ink for an entire night of careful writing. Inside the rim, a small mark has been engraved to show the level at which the well is properly full. The pen has a slim wooden body the color of dark honey, and a steel nib fitted into a brass collar at the writing end. The wood is smooth from years of being held. The nib has been used to write so many entries over so many nights that its tip has worn into the precise, gentle curve that suits this scribe's hand. The porcelain rest in which the pen lies when not in use is plain white, with a small gray hairline running across its base, the kind of small flaw that makes a thing feel like its own. The scribe sets the brass key down beside the inkwell. They unfold the woolen scarf and lay it across the back of the wooden chair. They draw a long, quiet breath through their nose, taking in the smell of the room, the smell that always greets them at the start of their work. It is the smell of paper and ink and dust and wood smoke, and it is, by now, the smell that reminds them they are home in this small place. They take a small box of matches from the shallow drawer beneath the desk. They strike a single match. The light flares small and gentle, and they touch it to the wick of the brass oil lamp. The flame catches, settles, and the lamp begins to give its quiet amber light into the room. They blow the match out and lay it on a small ceramic dish kept for that purpose. The lamp's light reaches the desk first, then the chair, then the lower shelves of ledgers, then a small, soft circle of the floor. Beyond that pool, the rest of the room remains in a softer, dimmer brown, kindly and unhurried, the kind of dimness that lets a person rest their eyes without effort. The flame inside the glass chimney is small and steady. It does not waver. There is no draught to trouble it, and the wick has been trimmed even, and the oil is clean. The flame holds its own quiet shape. Above it, a faint, thin line of warmth rises through the glass, invisible, felt only as a small softness in the air directly above the chimney. The lamp gives just the right amount of light for the page. Not too bright, not too dim, exactly enough and no more. The scribe walks to the wall by the door. There a small lamp sits in a wall sconce of black iron, its glass chimney clean. They light this second lamp from a long taper they keep in a brass cup near the door, and the second flame, smaller than the first, gives a quiet bloom of light to that side of the room. With both lamps lit, the room has the gentle balance of light it needs. There is the desk lamp and the door lamp, and between them the room sits in a long, soft dusk that feels like the shoulder of a kind hour. They cross to the south wall of shelves, the wall where the older ledgers stand. Their hand finds the spine they want without searching. The fingers know the shelf, and the shelf knows the fingers, and the volume slides out into their hands as if it had been waiting. The shelf gives a small, soft sound, the smallest possible whisper of cloth on wood as the volume comes free. The volumes on either side stay where they were, leaning gently into the small space the chosen volume has left behind. The scribe runs the side of one finger along the now empty space, just to be sure no dust has been disturbed. There is no dust. The shelves have been kept clean for a very long time. They lift the volume in both hands, holding it as one holds a cat that has chosen to be held, with attention but without grip. It is a thick book, cloth-bound, the cloth deep blue and slightly worn at the corners. The gold lettering on its spine reads the year quietly, and the cloth gives off the faint, dry smell that old cloth gives off when it has held paper for a long time. The scribe carries it to the desk in both hands and lays it down beside the new ledger. They sit in the wooden chair. The chair is plain, with a flat wooden seat polished smooth, and a low, straight back, and it makes the small, comfortable creak that the chair has made for many nights. They settle their shoulders. They draw the new ledger a little closer. They open the old ledger to the first page. They set the pen lightly against the small porcelain rest. They look once at the snow beyond the window. The new ledger is bound in a deep green cloth, the color of moss in a forest after rain. The corners are reinforced with small triangles of darker leather. The spine is plain, awaiting the year mark that will be added when the volume is finished. The pages are a clean ivory, slightly creamy at the edges, and the ruling on each page has been done in faint blue ink so as not to compete with the writing. On the open page, the lines wait empty, ready to receive their entries. The pages have that fresh, dry rustle that new paper has, the kind of paper that knows it will not always be new and is content to begin where it is. The old ledger is bound in cloth of the same deep blue as the spine showed on the shelf. Its corners are softened by years of handling. Its pages are a little yellowed at the edges, although the center of each page remains pale, and the writing across each page remains crisp and clear. The ink on those pages, although aging, has been laid down by hands that knew their work, and it has carried itself well. The scribe smooths the open page with the side of one hand. The page lies flat. They are ready. The snow falls. The lamp burns. The wood stove holds its low, steady warmth. The work has not yet begun, but the room is ready. The scribe is ready. The night ahead of them is long and quiet and good. They look down at the open ledger. They settle their hand. They begin. The work is the simplest kind of work in the world, and the most patient. The scribe is here to copy the entries from the old ledger into the new one, line by line, page by page, in their own careful hand. The town keeps its records this way as a precaution against time. Cloth bindings fade. Paper grows brittle. Ink, after enough decades, lifts from the page in tiny pale flecks. By transcribing the old ledgers onto fresh, strong paper, the records are kept alive. It is a kind of caretaking. It is not unlike turning the soil of an old garden or cleaning a clock that has run faithfully for 100 years. The work has been done in this room for as long as the room has existed. Each generation has added their own careful pages to the long line of pages already kept. The handwriting of one scribe gives way, somewhere in the middle of a column, to the handwriting of another. Each is recognizable. Each is patient. Each has its own small grace. Together, they make the long, quiet body of the town's memory, one page at a time, one night at a time, kept alive by ink and paper, and the warm hands of those who have sat in this very chair before. The scribe has read many of the older pages with quiet pleasure. They will not be the last to read them. Somewhere far ahead in time, another scribe will sit at this desk, perhaps, and will copy the pages the present scribe is making tonight with the same careful patience, while a different snow falls outside a different season. The thought is a small kindness. It does not weigh on the scribe. It only adds to the warmth of the room. The scribe lifts the lid of the inkwell with one finger. The hinge moves silently. They take up the pen, hold the steel nib above the inkwell, and dip it gently. They watch the ink rise along the nib. They lift the pen, tap it once softly against the rim, and let the small bright drop run back into the well. They close the lid. They lay the nib against the paper. They write the first line of the night. The pen makes a soft scratch as it moves across the paper, a small whispering sound, almost too quiet to be heard except by someone leaning towards it. The letters form one after another in the steady, careful hand the scribe has used for as long as they can remember. The nib runs out of ink. They pause. They lift the pen, dip it again, tap it, return it to the page. The first entry is finished. They blot it lightly with the folded square of blotting paper. The blot catches the wet, leaves the writing dry, and they set the blotting paper to one side again. The blotting paper itself is a thick, soft, pinkish square, the color of old roses, kept for a long time and used carefully. Across its surface lie the faint ghosts of countless previous lines, pressed back into it by other nights of work. The scribe has folded it once across the middle and once more again, so that any side they choose to use is fresh. When this fold is fully used, they will refold it. When the whole sheet is tired, they will replace it with another. There is one in the drawer waiting. They look at the old ledger. They find the next line. They lift the pen, they dip, they tap, they write. This is the rhythm of their work. Read a line, dip the pen, tap the nib, write the line, blot, read the next line. The rhythm finds itself within the first few minutes and then settles in for the night, the way a horse settles into a long, quiet walk on a road it knows by heart. There is a small comfort in a rhythm that has been done before, and that will be done again, and that will be done again after that. The hand knows the motion. The wrist knows when to lift and when to lower, and when to ease the pressure for a long letter, and when to firm it for a short one. The eyes know when to leave the old ledger and travel down to the new one, and they know to find the place again without searching when they look back. None of this needs thinking. In the way that the steps of a dance one has danced for years do not need thinking. Outside the narrow window, the snow keeps falling. It falls on the empty courtyard. It falls on the slate roofs of the buildings that line the square beyond the courtyard. It falls on the iron lamps along the streets, where the gas has long been turned down to its smallest blue bead. The world outside is not asleep exactly, because old towns do not sleep so much as they rest. The world outside is resting. The snow is the soft cloth that has been laid over its shoulders for the night. Within the courtyard itself, the snow has begun to mound gently against the base of the single tree. It has begun to fill the small spaces between the cobbles. It has begun to soften every line and every edge until the whole space looks like a thing remembered rather than a thing seen. The single courtyard lamp, set on its short iron post in the center, gives its small, steady amber, and the flakes that pass through its faint ring of light catch the light briefly, and then go on falling into the darker air below. Inside the room, the lamp on the desk gives its steady, warm circle of light. The lamp by the door gives its smaller bloom. The wood stove in the corner pops softly. The warmth from the stove reaches the back of the chair, and through the back of the chair to the back of the scribe, and the scribe leans into it without thinking. The warmth is part of the work now. The way the ink is part of the work, and the silence and the soft amber on the page. The amber light of the lamp falls across the surface of the new ledger in such a way that the unwritten paper glows the gentlest gold, and the freshly written letters, while their ink is still wet, gleam a fine bright dark for a single moment before they dry. The scribe watches this small daily wonder without comment, the way one watches the bloom of a kettle's first steam in the morning. It is one of the small pleasures of the work, and it asks nothing in return. The scribe writes. They dip, they tap, they write. The nib makes its small scratching whisper. The page slowly fills line by line. The nib of the pen has been with this scribe for a long time. It has been replaced once in all those years by a fresh steel nib taken from a small box in the drawer when the old one had at last grown too soft. The current nib is in its prime. The two small slits at its writing tip are even. The flow of ink is good. It carries an even line across paper. It does not catch. It does not skip. It is a nib that has been used patiently by a hand that knows how to use a nib, and the two have come to an easy understanding. When the first page is finished, they read it once through to be sure. Their lips do not move. Their eyes pass slowly down the column. They are looking for any line that does not match, any number out of place, any name spelled differently. There is nothing to correct. The page is good. They lift the corner gently. They turn it over. The new page on the other side is bright and waiting. The scribe does not feel pride in the page they have made. Pride would be the wrong shape for this work. What they feel, if it can be called feeling at all, is the small, simple satisfaction of a thing done well and done plainly. The line is straight. The numbers are clear. The names sit in their proper columns. The blotting was even. The page will read in 100 years as it reads now. That is enough. That is, in fact, exactly the thing the room is for. They turn back to the old ledger. The page they have just copied lies open. They lift it gently, holding the corner so that the paper does not pull at the binding, and they turn it. The page makes a quiet sound as it moves, the soft whisper of paper that has been still for many years and is now, for a moment, in motion. It settles flat. They smooth it with the side of their hand. They look down at the new page of old entries. They lift the pen. They dip. They tap. They begin again. The wood stove in its corner gives off a faint, warm crackle as a piece of split wood inside it settles deeper into the bed of coals. A small, bright flicker shows briefly at the seam of the stove's iron door. Then the stove is quiet again. Its warmth continues without comment. The scribe writes a number. The number is a small sum from many years ago. It records, in its small, ordinary way, that on a particular date in a particular month, the town paid a particular man a particular amount for the laying of paving stones along the western edge of the market square. The man, by now, is long since at rest. The paving stones, smoothed by many years of footfall, are still there. The scribe writes the number and the name and the date with the same steady care they would bring to anything. The record continues. That is enough. They dip, they tap, they write. The next entry concerns a delivery of timber for the repair of a roof at the old grain store on the north side of the town. The cost is given in the silver coin that was used at that time, with a small marginal note in a tidy pale hand, observing that the timber had come from the woods to the east. The scribe copies the entry. They copy the marginal note in its proper place. They blot. They turn their attention to the next line. The line that follows records a payment to a woman for the laundering of the hall's curtains in the spring of that year. The amount is small and ordinary. The scribe writes the woman's name carefully. They write the amount. They write the date. They blot. A few entries down, the old ledger lists a sum given to the mason who repaired the courtyard wall. The amount is given. The mason's name is given. A small note in the margin says only that the work was done in fine weather and that the mortar had set well. The scribe carries every word across into the new ledger. They do not skip the note. They do not change a syllable. They write what was written, just as it was written. They dip, they tap, they write. After a while, the scribe pauses to refill the inkwell. There is a small clear glass bottle of ink kept in the drawer beneath the desk, and a small funnel of brass beside it. They open the drawer. They lift out the bottle. They set it on the desk. They open the inkwell. They place the small brass funnel into the well's mouth. They unstop the bottle. They tilt it carefully and let the ink run in a slow, dark thread down the funnel into the well. They watch the level rise to the small mark inside. They right the bottle. They cap it. They lift the funnel out, tap it gently against the rim of the inkwell, and set it on a square of cloth kept for that purpose. They return the bottle to the drawer. They close the lid of the well. They sit. They lift the pen. They dip. They tap. They write. The ink itself has a particular smell when newly poured. It is the smell of something dark and clean, faintly sharp, the way a winter forest smells after the first frost. The smell rises into the lamplit air for a moment and is then gone, swallowed back into the larger smells of the room. The scribe has come to know this small smell well. It says, "The well is full." It says, "You may write for a long while now." It says, "All is in order." The snow falls. The lamp burns. The wood stove holds its low, steady warmth at their back. The pen scratches. Sometimes the scribe lifts their head a little, only a little, and lets their eyes rest on the small dark window above the desk. The window's panes are warm with light from inside, not warm from any heat, only warm because the lamp's amber light reaches them and shows in the glass. Beyond the panes, the snow keeps coming down, the flakes lit faintly by the courtyard's single lamp. The flakes fall slowly. None hurry. There is no wind tonight. They simply descend, row upon row of small, kind shapes, the slow, steady company of the night. The scribe lowers their eyes again. They find the next line. They dip. They tap. They write. Some entries are short. A name, a date, a small sum. Some are longer, with explanatory notes in the margins of the old ledger that the scribe carries faithfully across into the new one. They never improve the wording, even when the old wording has become quaint. They never shorten. They never expand. They copy. The phrase stands as it stood. That is the point of the work. Sometimes a phrase in the old ledger uses an older word for a thing, a word that has fallen out of common use. The scribe carries the old word across without remark. The reader of the future will understand. There are small books that explain such things. The scribe keeps one such small book on the lowest shelf to the left of the desk and reaches for it when needed. Mostly, they do not need it. The old words have grown familiar to them across the years. They write the old word. They blot. They write the next line. Sometimes the old ledger contains a small drawing, a little sketch of a figure or a tool, drawn in the margin to clarify a phrase. The scribe copies these too in their own careful manner, with the pen held a little more lightly. The drawings are simple: a small wheel, a small hook, a small key, a small leaf. They appear every now and again like little visitors from another time, and the scribe greets them by transcribing them and then moves on. A note in the margin reads, in the older, neater hand of a scribe who is long since at rest, that the entry above was paid in the silver coin then in use. The scribe copies the marginal note in their own hand and places it in the same relative position in the new ledger's margin. Nothing has been lost. The note has crossed from the old book into the new. The work continues. They reach the bottom of a column. They blot. They turn the page. They reach the bottom of the new column on the new page. They blot. They lay the pen in its rest. They flex the fingers of their writing hand gently, opening and closing them once. They roll their shoulders back. They lean a little to one side, then the other. The smallest stretches one makes when one has been bent over careful work for a while. The wood of the chair gives its small, familiar creak. The stove gives off its warm, patient breath. They lean over again. They lift the pen. They dip. They tap. They write. The wood stove, after a time, eats through the next piece of wood. A small log breaks in two with a soft thump, and the seam of the iron door brightens for a moment with a low orange glow. The scribe rises from the chair without haste, walks the few steps to the stove, opens the small iron door with a square of leather kept for that purpose, and sets a fresh piece of split wood on top of the bed of coals. The wood is birch. It catches almost at once with a small, soft sound. The scribe closes the door, sets the leather square back on its hook, and walks back to the desk. They sit. They lift the pen. They dip. They tap. They write. The smell of the new birch as it warms is the cleanest smell in the room. It carries a hint of the woods it grew in, a faint sweetness, the kind of smell that reaches the back of the mind and brings up the picture of a winter forest one has perhaps walked in, or perhaps only ever imagined. The smell drifts gently across the room and gathers around the desk. It mingles with the smell of paper and ink. It settles. It becomes part of the work, the way every other small thing has become part of the work. And the scribe goes on. A small piece of bark from the new log curls slowly in the heat of the stove. The scribe does not see this. They are looking at the old ledger. The bark blackens at its edges, turns a deeper red, and is gone. The stove's flue gives the smallest soft sigh as it draws. The room is content. The room is warmer now from the new wood. The amber pool of the desk lamp seems to widen a little, although the lamp has not changed. It is only that the warmth itself feels like a kind of light. The scribe's hand moves across the new page in even disciplined motion, line after line, dip after dip, page after page. Time in this room does not march. It walks. It strolls. It pauses to look at things. It turns over a leaf of an old shrub in its hand and considers the leaf, and then walks on again. The clock in the corridor outside the door ticks somewhere very faintly, but the scribe does not listen for it, and the clock does not insist on being heard. The shelves around the room hold their volumes patiently. The cloth bindings catch the lamp's amber light along their spines, each in its own faint particular tone. Deep green here, dark blue there, the color of strong tea further along. Some spines have been lettered in gold leaf. Some have been simply inked. The lettering, in either case, has softened over the years into a quiet, faded warmth. The scribe knows where each volume sits without needing to read the lettering. The way one knows knows the rooms of one's own house without reading their names. The small drawer beneath the center of the desk, which holds the matches and a small spare nib and a folded clean cloth, gives off the faint, clean smell of the cedar that lines its inside. The drawer has been there since the desk was made, and the cedar's smell has not yet lost its quiet kindness. The scribe does not need to open the drawer just now. They only sense the smell faintly, as one senses the small smells of any familiar room without naming them. After many minutes of writing, the scribe reaches the end of a long page. They blot. They lay the pen down for a moment. They press the heels of their hands lightly against their eyes, the way one does without thinking when one has been working at fine work in soft light for a long time. They lower their hands. They blink. They look at the snow. The snow is unchanged. It falls in the same patient way. The single tree in the courtyard wears a deeper coat of white than it did when the scribe arrived. The cobbles are entirely covered now. The world out there is white and gray and soft, and inside the room, the light is amber and warm, and the difference between the two, seen through the narrow, tall window, is a kind of small, quiet pleasure. They lean over again. They turn the page of the old ledger. They turn the page of the new ledger. They settle. They lift the pen. They dip. They tap. They write. The hour of the building, somewhere out of sight in another corridor, strikes a quiet, faint chime. The chime is muffled by walls and distance, and it does not carry numbers, only its plain, soft tone. The scribe hears it without counting. The chime fades. The pen continues. The clock in the corridor is the building's clock, an old thing of brass and walnut that has stood there longer than anyone now alive in the town. Its tick is slow. Its chime is soft. It has been wound for as long as anyone remembers by whoever happens to be passing on the appointed day, with a small key kept on a hook beside the case. The clock has not stopped in living memory. The scribe has never wounded themselves, yet the clock is part of the room in the way that the building itself is part of the room, and the chime, when it comes, belongs. Outside the window, the snow continues. The single tree in the courtyard has gathered its white evenly across every branch. The cobblestones are no longer cobblestones, only a smooth white surface beneath which the cobbles can be felt by anyone who has walked there. Above the courtyard, the sky is the deep, soft gray that snow brings, the color of a clean, folded blanket left over the back of a chair. A column of small sums is finished. The scribe blots it carefully, working from top to bottom with the folded blotting paper, pressing without rubbing. They lift the blotting paper away. The column dries quickly under the warmth of the room. They turn the page of the old ledger. The next page is given over to the records of a particular week in a particular month, and the entries are short and plain. They begin to copy. Their hand moves easily now, having found the rhythm and stayed with it. The pen scratches gently. The ink flows. The numbers and names cross from one cloth-bound book into another, carried over by patience, the way a river carries leaves. A small flake of dried ink, almost too small to see, has lifted from a corner of the old ledger's page. The scribe notices it. They reach for a small, soft brush kept upright in a small clay pot on the desk, the brush no bigger than a child's little finger. They lift the brush. They sweep it gently across the corner of the page. The flake and the small dust that lay around it are carried away into the air and gone. The scribe sets the brush back in the clay pot. They lift the pen. They dip. They tap. They write. This small flake, lifted from the corner, is the very thing the work is meant to address. It is the slow leaving of ink from old paper. It is the reason the new ledger exists. The scribe sees the flake and understands, in the small, unspoken way one understands such things, that the work is doing what it should. Each entry copied across is one less entry lost to the slow, patient hand of time. The thought does not interrupt the rhythm. The hand continues. The line forms. The small clay pot in which the brush stands is the color of pale earth, with a faint crackle running across its glaze. It holds, besides the brush, a slender bone folder for smoothing pages, and a small, thin steel knife for trimming the very tip of a nib if needed. None of these tools have been needed often tonight. wait quietly for the moments when they are needed, and they go unbothered the rest of the time, the way good tools should. The wood stove pops once. The lamp gives its small amber sound, which is no sound at all really, just the suggestion of light being made. The snow falls beyond the glass. The pen scratches. Somewhere very faintly, the muffled chime of the building's clock returns. The scribe does not count. They write. After a long while, perhaps an hour and a half by the building's clock, the scribe finishes a particularly long set of entries. They blot. They lay the pen in its rest. They lean back in the chair. They look at the page they have made. The page is good. The hand has stayed even. The numbers are crisp. The ink has dried evenly. They reach forward and run a single fingertip along the lower edge of the new page, just to feel it. The paper is cool and smooth and dry. It is paper that will be here long after they themselves are not. Holding these old records in their new careful copy. The thought is not heavy. It is a quiet thought. It belongs to the room in the way that any honest acknowledgement of time belongs to a room where work is done patiently. The scribe is here to copy, and the copy will be read by people they will not meet on nights long after this one. That is, in its own small way, a kindness offered forward through time. A small kindness made of ink and paper and an even hand. The thought comes. The thought goes. The scribe lifts the pen. They dip. They tap. They write. They turn the page of the new ledger. They turn the page of the old ledger. The next entries are about provisions delivered to the town hall in winter many decades ago. There is a small note in the margin that the snow that year had been deep enough to delay the carts by 2 days. The scribe smiles a small private smile that no one sees, and they do not pause in the work. They copy the entries. They copy the note about the snow. They smile again, faintly, at the small kindness of being given this entry on tonight of all nights, with the snow falling outside the window in its own slow company. They write on. Provisions listed are simple and good. Sacks of flour, barrels of salt, crates of dried beans, a round of cheese from a particular farm to the south, pots of honey, a length of dark cloth for the mending of the curtains in the council room, a small order of new candles for the public lamps. Each item has been entered with its quantity, its cost, and the name of the supplier. The scribe carries each entry across, line for line, into the new ledger. The numbers are small. The names are sober. The page fills. Somewhere in the middle of the list, the older scribe has added another small marginal note, observing that the cheese had arrived in particularly good condition that year and was a credit to the farm. The current scribe copies the note in its proper place. They are pleased by it in the small quiet way one is pleased by a small kindness shown long ago. They blot. They turn the page. The pen scratches. The lamp burns. The wood stove warms. The snow falls. The scribe turns the page of the old ledger and finds the next entries are about the small kindnesses the town hall once paid out to those who had fallen on hard winters. A small allowance to a widow. A small payment for the firewood given to a man who had broken his arm. A small sum towards the mending of a roof in the lower part of town when the snow had been heavy that year. The entries are short and gentle, and the scribe carries them across into the new ledger one by one, with the same quiet care they bring to every other line of the night. There is no judgment in their hand. There is only the careful keeping of what was once true. They blot. They turn the page. The next entries are practical and dry. The costs of replacing roof tiles after a storm. The scribe writes them. They write the names of the tilers. They write the cost of the tiles. They write the date. They blot. They turn the page. These 4 small, steady things make the room. They make it together, each one doing its own small work, none of them in a hurry, none of them surprising the others. They are a kind of quiet quartet, and the scribe, sitting at the desk with the open ledgers before them, is the listener and the player both at once. They reach down once to draw the woolen scarf off the back of the chair and around their shoulders. The wool is soft and slightly heavy. It settles across the shoulders and gives a deeper layer of warmth to the warmth already coming from the stove. They tuck the loose end forward and rested against their collarbone. They sit upright again. They lift the pen. They dip. They tap. They write. The wool of the scarf has the faintest scent of the cedar drawer in which it lies during the day, and underneath that the older, quieter scent of wool itself, which is a clean, dry scent, like a pasture at evening. The scarf has been with the scribe for a very long time. Its edges are tidy. Its weave is even. It has done its work for many winters and will do it for many more. The color of the scarf is a soft, warm gray, somewhere between the gray of a winter sky and the pale gray of a stone that has been polished for many years by a stream. In the lamplight, it looks a little warmer, with the smallest hint of brown along its weave. It is a kind color. It is the color of something that does not draw attention to itself. It rests on the shoulders where it is needed and asks for nothing. Sometimes the scribe consults a third book, a thin, slim volume kept on the lowest shelf to the left of the desk. It is an index of older terms used in the early ledgers, prepared by some patient hand long ago to help later scribes. When a phrase appears in the old ledger that has fallen out of common use, the scribe reaches down without rising, slides the slim volume from its place, opens it on the corner of the desk, and looks up the term. They read the brief explanation. They nod once to themselves. They close the slim volume. They return it to its place on the shelf. They lift the pen. They dip. They tap. They write the phrase as it stands in the old ledger. The phrase is preserved. The slim volume itself is bound in a soft brown leather, worn smooth in the center where many fingers have held it. Its pages are thinner than the ledger's pages, almost like the pages of a small prayer book. The lettering inside is small and even, and the words are arranged in alphabetical order. Beside many entries, small notes have been added in different hands across the years, each one a small kindness left for the next person to come along. Sometimes the scribe lingers on a particular entry simply because the small note beside it is itself a pleasure to read. The work of an earlier scribe, explaining patiently what a now forgotten word once meant. The scribe writes a line. They blot. They write another. They blot. The pen scratches. A small column of accounts is finished. They blot. They turn the page. The night deepens. The window grows colder, although the room does not. The amber light of the desk lamp grows no smaller. The warmth at the scribe's back continues. The pages turn. The lines of careful writing march down the new ledger's columns one after another. And behind them, in the old ledger, another set of lines waits to be carried across. The scribe writes a long entry now, longer than most. It records a series of small payments made over the course of a particular spring many years ago for the planting of new trees along the eastern lane that runs out of the town. The entry lists the men who did the planting and the kinds of trees that were planted, and the cost of each set, and the small extra paid for the hauling of water through a dry week. The scribe carries the whole entry across with patient care. The trees are still there, or so they are told. They have grown tall. They give shade in summer to people walking the lane. The record of their planting now lives in the new ledger as well as the old. They blot, they turn the page. They write a shorter entry, a single line, a small repair to the gutters of the hall itself, paid to a man whose name is unfamiliar to the scribe. They write the name carefully. They write the amount. They write the date. They blot. They turn the page. The scribe writes for what would be hours if anyone were counting. No one is counting. The scribe is not counting. The clock in the corridor does not announce its hour, only chimes faintly from time to time. The snow falls. The stove gives off its kindly heat. The pen makes its small whispering scratch. Now and again, between entries, the scribe takes the smallest pause. They straighten the pen in their fingers. They roll the wooden body of it gently between thumb and forefinger, feeling the worn, smooth grain. They set it back to the page. They write another line. The work continues without effort. The way breathing continues without effort once one has settled into a quiet evening. The scribe's writing hand is not tired. The wrist remains supple. The fingers remain easy. The pen has been chosen well, balanced well, weighted well. The chair has been built well, with its low back and its plain seat and its stone-firm legs. The desk is the right height. The lamp sits at the right angle to throw the light onto the page without putting glare in the eyes. None of these things were arranged tonight. They were arranged decades ago by people who understood the work and who wanted, gently, for the work to be a comfort to whoever did it next. The scribe now is the one for whom they were arranged tonight. Tomorrow night, the scribe will be the one again. After another length of time, somewhere past midnight, the scribe finishes a section of the old ledger and reaches the place where the next entries belong to a different year. They lay the pen in its rest. They blot the last line. They look up. They consider the wall of shelves to their left, where the older volumes are kept. They rise. They cross the room slowly. The amber circle of the desk lamp does not follow them, but the dim, warm dusk of the room is enough. They reach the shelf. Their hand finds the next volume by feel. The cloth of the binding is a deeper green than the volume on the desk. They draw it out. They walk back to the desk. They sit. They place the new old volume next to the existing one. They close the existing one gently. They open the new one to its first page. They lift the pen. They dip. They tap. They write. The new old volume opens with the smell that all old volumes have, which is the smell of paper that has held its quiet for many years. The pages, still pale at their centers, give off a soft, dry breath as the volume opens. The first page bears its careful, neat lettering, given by some scribe who is now long since at rest. And the lettering is so even and so calm that the eye is gentled by it before the work has even begun. The scribe smooths the page with the side of one hand. They settle their writing hand. They begin again. The new pages of the new ledger receive these older entries as the new pages have received all the others tonight, with patient ivory paper and faint blue ruling and a fresh waiting line. The snow falls more thickly now, although still quietly, still without wind. The single tree in the courtyard is now half buried. its lower branches lost in soft mounds. The scribe glances up, sees the change, and lets their eyes rest there for a moment, then returns to the page. The work goes on. The flakes nearer the window are larger than the ones further away by some small trick of the eye, and they fall a little more slowly than the ones beyond. They drift past the panes one by one, taking their long, quiet time, each one a small white star descending. The scribe has watched this many times across many winters, and the small pleasure of it has not lessened with use. They lower their eyes to the page. They lift the pen. They dip. They tap. They write. Inside the wood stove, the bed of coals has settled deep and warm. The scribe rises again, opens the iron door with the leather square, sets a fresh piece of birch on the coals. The stove takes the wood into itself with a soft whisper. The scribe closes the door. They walk back. They sit. They lift the pen. They dip. They tap. They write. The shelves of ledgers around the room hold themselves quietly. The light of the lamp by the door catches their lower spines in a soft, warm glow. The light of the desk lamp catches the spines of the volumes nearest the desk, the ones from the most recent decades. The middle shelves remain in a deeper, softer dimness, neither lit nor unlit, just held in the room's general warm dusk. The room does not need to be brightly lit. The work needs only the page, and the page is well lit. A small motion of warm air from the stove rises and circles the high corner of the room where the chimney rises into the ceiling. The motion is invisible. It is felt only by the smallest, faintest movement of one of the dust motes that drift through the lamplight near the desk. The dust motes are themselves a small kindness of the room. They turn slowly in the amber air. They neither settle nor rise. They simply turn, the way small things turn in the long, warm currents of a quiet room. The room is full now of the smells the scribe has come to know across so many nights. The dry scent of the old paper as the pages turn, the faint, sharp smell of the ink, the dust of the shelves, which is a clean dust, more like the dust of dried herbs than the dust of neglect. The wood smoke, gentle and good, and underneath it all the warm, dry smell of the stove iron itself, holding its heat, None of these smells press themselves on the scribe. They are only there, quietly, the way the walls are there. The scribe writes another page. They blot, they turn, they write another, they blot, they turn. The hand has settled into the soft grain of the night, and the night has settled around the hand. There is no awareness of effort. There is only the steady, gentle motion of pen on paper, the small whisper of nib on ivory, the small, soft turn of a page now and again, the small, low warmth at the back, the small, steady amber on the desk. They look down at their writing hand for a moment. The fingers are loose around the pen. The wrist is light on the desk. The forearm rests easy. The skin of the back of the hand is lit from above by the lamp, in the pale amber of the lamplight, and the fine small lines of the skin are caught in tiny soft shadows. It is the hand they have always written with. It knows the pen. The pen knows the hand. They write. The pen scratches. The lamp burns. The wood stove holds its warmth. The snow keeps falling. The scribe finishes another column, and another, and another. The new ledger is filling beautifully. The old ledger thins slowly in its remaining pages. The scribe never works to the end of the night. They work for as long as they work, and they stop when the pages have come to a natural pause, and what is not finished waits without complaint for the next night's work. That is the rule of the room. There is no hurry. There is only patience. The records, whether copied tonight or copied in 2 nights, will be copied. They have been copied for many decades. They will continue to be copied for many more. The lamp burns evenly. The wick is steady. The amber light has not changed. The wood stove gives off its low warmth. The room is warm at the back. The room is cool at the window. The snow falls beyond the glass. The flakes come down slow. They neither hasten nor pause. The pen scratches. The line forms. The hand is gentle. The scribe writes another line. They blot. They turn the page. The scribe writes. The pen scratches. The lamp burns. The snow falls. A small change comes into the room without announcing itself. The scribe slows. have not decided to slow. They have only, somewhere inside the long, even motion of their hand, begun to lift the pen a little less quickly between dips. The dip is a little longer. The tap against the rim is a little softer. The line moves across the page a touch more slowly. The breath between lines lengthens. The work has reached the part of the night that the room understands. They write a line, they blot it, they look at the page. They lay the pen in its rest. They sit a moment without writing. The lamp burns. The snow falls. They draw a slow breath. The warmth of the stove settles deeper into the back of the chair. The wool scarf is soft against the side of the neck. They lift the pen. They dip. They tap. They write one more line. They blot. They lay the pen down again. This is how the deep middle of the night arrives. Not with a chime, not with a sudden change, with a slowing, with longer pauses between lines, with a quieter scratch of the nib. They write. They blot. They turn the page of the old ledger gently. The page lifts and settles. The whisper of paper. They turn the page of the new ledger. The new paper is pale and waiting. They lift the pen, they dip, they tap, they write. The lamp burns steadily. Its amber pool on the desk is unchanged. The wick has been good. The wood stove pops once, far back in its iron belly, then is quiet. The snow keeps falling. The scribe writes a line. They blot. They lay the pen down. They press their fingertips together gently in their lap, the way one does when one is resting one's hands without noticing. They sit. They look at the page. They lift the pen. They dip. They tap. They write. After a length of time, the scribe rises. They do not push back the chair noisily. They simply stand quietly, the way one stands in a quiet room. They walk to the narrow, tall window. The window's stone sill is wide. They place place one hand lightly on it. The stone is cool, but not cold. The warm room has reached even the sill. They look out at the courtyard. The snow falls. The single tree in the center of the courtyard wears a thick, soft coat. The cobbles below are entirely white. The single courtyard lamp burns small and steady at its post. Its amber light reaches no further than the lamp itself. The flakes falling through its little ring of light catch the light briefly and then fall on. The world beyond the courtyard is white and silent. They watch. The flakes come down without hurry. They drift. They turn. They settle. The scribe stands at the window for a length of time that no clock could measure usefully. They are not counting. There is nothing to count. The pen rests in its small porcelain rest on the desk behind them. The lamp burns. The wood stove warms. The window's frost has spread a little further. The fine fern shapes have grown. They are the work of slow cold. The scribe lays a fingertip against one of the lower panes. The glass is cool. The frost does not melt. The cold is gentle. The room is gentler still. They lower the hand. They look once more at the snow. The single courtyard lamp gives its small amber. The flakes drift through it and beyond. The dark beyond the courtyard is soft, not heavy. The scribe draws a slow, quiet breath. The breath is easy. After a while, they turn from the window. They walk back to the desk. They sit. They lift the pen. They dip. They tap. They write a line. They blot. They lay the pen down. They sit. The pen rests. The lamp burns. The snow falls. The scribe lifts the pen again. They dip. They tap. They write. The lines now come more slowly. The hand is not less sure. It is only less hurried. Each letter has all the time it needs. They blot. They turn the page. They write. The pen makes its small whisper. The lamp gives its small amber. The wood stove gives its small warmth. The snow gives its small silence. These four things hold the room. They write a line, they blot. They write another, they blot. The hand rests on the page. They lift the pen. They dip. They tap. They write. After another length of time, they reach a small natural pause in the old ledger. The next entries belong to a new section, and the section can wait for another night. They lay the pen in its rest. They sit a long moment. They reach forward gently. They close the new ledger. The cloth covers come together. The slim ribbon marker, which lay along the page just written, settles between the closed pages. They reach for the old ledger. They lay one hand on the open page. They look at it for a moment. Then they close the old ledger as well. The cloth covers meet. The pages settle. The two books rest side by side on the desk. They sit. The lamp burns. The wood stove warms. The snow falls. The pen rests. They flex their writing hand gently in their lap. The fingers open. The fingers close. They open again. They lay the hand still. They sit. After a while, they rise. They cross the room to the wood stove. They open the iron door with the leather square. The bed of coals inside is deep and red and slow. They do not add another piece of wood. The fire in the stove is enough for the rest of the night. They close the door gently. They walk back. They do not sit yet. They stand at the desk. They look at the lamp. The lamp's small flame sits steady inside the glass chimney. The brass base catches the amber light. The tiny circle of warmth around the wick is the color of a small sleeping animal. They reach forward. They turn the small key on the side of the lamp. The wick lowers a fraction. The flame gives a softer, smaller light. The amber pool on the desk shrinks a little. They sit. The new ledger waits, closed. The old ledger waits, closed. The pen rests. The blotting paper lies neatly folded. The inkwell is closed. The room is dimmer now, and dimmer is what the room wants. The scribe places their hands gently on the closed cover of the new ledger. The cloth is cool. The texture of the weave is faint under their fingers. They sit. The lamp burns lower. The wood stove warms. The snow falls. They draw a long, quiet breath. They lower their gaze. After a while, they look at the lamp by the door. They rise. They walk over. They lower the wick of that lamp too. The small bloom of light at the door becomes smaller still. They walk back. They sit. The room is now lit by the smaller amber glow at the desk and the small amber bead at the door. Both are quiet. The wood stove gives off its low warmth. The snow falls. The pen rests. They sit. They do not write. There is nothing more to write tonight. They place their hands flat on the closed ledger. They sit. The lamp burns. The snow falls. The wood stove warms. The pen rests. The room holds them. Time slows. The scribe rests their head a little forward, not heavily, only a little. Their shoulders lower. Their breath softens. The stove pops once, faint and far. The flame in the lamp does not stir. The snow falls. The flakes drift down past the window. None hurry. None turn back. The scribe sits. They are not asleep. They are not awake in any sharp way either. They are in the middle place that this room knows. The work is done for the night. The records are safe. The new pages are dry. The old pages have been turned and closed. The hand is at rest. The pen lies in its rest. The ledgers wait. The lamp burns. The wood stove warms. The snow falls. The scribe breathes slow. The scribe breathes slower. The amber light is small. The room is small. The night is wide. The snow is patient. The pen rests. The lamp burns low. The wood stove warms. The ledgers wait. The scribe sits. A long quiet settles. The flame is small. The snow is slow. The room is warm. The page is closed. The scribe rests. The lamp burns. The snow falls. The wood stove holds. The night is long. Nothing hurries. Nothing waits with sharpness. Everything is held. The lamp burns. The snow falls. The pen rests. The scribe rests. The room is quiet. The light is small. The warmth is enough. The night is good. The lamp burns. The snow falls. The room holds. The scribe rests. Sleep moves through the room as the snow moves through the courtyard. Slow, soft, without intention. The lamp burns lower. The snow keeps falling. The pen rests in its small porcelain rest. The ledgers lie closed on the desk. The wood stove holds the last of its warmth. The scribe sits very still. Their breathing is slow. Their hands are still. The night is wide and kind. The lamp burns. The snow falls. The pen rests. The ledgers wait. The room is warm. The scribe rests. A long, soft quiet. The flame is small. The snow is slow. The night is wide. The room is held. The scribe is held. The lamp burns. The snow falls. The pen rests. The wood stove warms. The ledgers wait. The lamp burns. The snow falls. The pen rests. The lamp burns. The snow falls. All is quiet. All is well. The lamp burns. The snow falls. The room is held. The night holds. The lamp burns low. The snow falls slow. All is still. The lamp burns. The snow falls. The pen rests. The ledgers wait. The wood stove warms. The scribe is at peace. The lamp burns. The snow falls. The night is kind. Sleep comes. The lamp burns low. The snow falls slow. The room is warm. The pen rests. The ledgers wait. The scribe is still. The night holds. The lamp burns. The snow falls. All is quiet. All is well. The lamp burns. The snow falls. The story softens. The lamp burns. The snow falls. The room is dim. The warmth holds. The pen rests. The ledgers wait. The scribe rests. The lamp burns. The snow falls. The night is long. The night is kind. Sleep is here. The lamp burns. The snow falls.